Can you imagine growing up in an entirely Catholic country and then waking up the next morning to find out that your king has declared that Catholicism is no longer a religion that your country will practice? That's exactly what happened to the peasants and lords of England during the reign of Henry VIII. The religious shift during this time was already unsteady due to the Protestant Reformation that exploded across Europe when Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to the door of the Catholic Church in Wittenberg, Germany in 1517. In this speech, we'll look at three main kings and queens of England who either fought or spurred on the Church of England's growth between the period of 1534 to 1603. We'll also look at what happened in England to create this separate entity and the lasting effects that it had on England and its territories. Henry VIII became King of England on June 23, 1509, and married his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, June 11, 1509, a little bit before he took the throne. He is happily married to her for 17 years and has a daughter, Mary, before he suddenly wishes to divorce this woman. Henry claimed that his marriage was not a holy unity since Catherine had been married before to his older brother Arthur, who had died in battle soon after the marriage. He petitioned the Catholic Church in 1529 to divorce Catherine on the grounds that she had lied about the consummation of her first marriage. Leviticus 20:21 says that no man may lay with his brother's wife, and that was the basis of Henry VIII's claim. When the Catholic Church resisted and proclaimed that Catherine was the rightful Queen of England, Henry decided to take matters into his own hands. Henry never referred to this issue with Catherine as a divorce to his people. It was only ever referred to as the king's great matter by the king himself and the people and officials in his court. Eventually, Henry decided that the Catholic Church could not decide who was the rightful king or queen of England. He renounced the Pope and set a tradition in motion called the Divine Right of Kings, which basically states that the king of a country is handpicked by God himself, and the Pope could not declare himself higher than God. With this decree, he also broke from the Catholic Church and created the Church of England. This new church was no different than the Catholic Church, except for the fact that priests could marry and have a family, as well as a stipulation that divorce could now be carried out. Henry used this to his advantage throughout his reign, divorcing 2 of his 6 wives. Mary I was a successor of her father, but raised in Spain, was extremely Catholic and hated her father for what he had done to her mother. While Henry died in 1547, Mary did not take the throne until 1553 after her half-brother Edward VI had died and Lady Jane Grey had been beheaded for taking the throne as Edward's successor. She opposed all thought of Protestantism and went as far as to try and wipe out the entire Church of England during her reign. Mary was queen for less than a month before she started reinstating Catholic priests and giving monasteries back to the bishops. Her hatred for her Protestant father and brother ran so deep that she refused to sit during her coronation on the chair that her predecessors had sat upon. She is the only royal to not sit on King Edward's chair during her crowning. This started a long and terrible time for the Protestants. Mary is often called Bloody Mary because she has thousands of Protestant priests and practitioners put to death without trial. Some of the priests, John Rogers, Bishop Latimer and Ridley, and Archbishops Cranmer, just to name a few, were burned at the stake for holding positions that were given to them by Mary's own father and brother. Her reign, only 5 years, but to the people of England seems so much longer. When Mary died, she had no heir to entrust her Catholic kingdom to, so it fell to her half-sister Elizabeth. Elizabeth I took the throne in 1558, and the religious pendulum swung once more. Being the daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn, Elizabeth was raised Protestant and was surely going to create a Protestant nation. Elizabeth was crowned queen under the Act of Supremacy, which also gave her the title of Supreme Governor of the English Church, and the Act of Uniformity restored Protestant practices. She also declared that all high-ranking Protestant priests were to be added to the Fox Books of Martyrs, which had to be kept next to the Holy Bible in all Anglican churches. Elizabeth continued to restrict Catholic freedoms and, like her sister, killed many for their religion without proper trial. The religious stability of England was always in question until the reign of William and Mary. Unfortunately, we do not have time to cover all of the royals who impacted the Anglican movement in England and its territories, but we can see the lasting effects of the Protestant and Catholic wars even to this day. Ireland is a prime example of lasting impression of religious wars. During the instability, Ireland was conquered and owned by the British Empire and was forced to convert under penalty of death. The rapidly changing religious views were often confusing and left many in a state that refused to change. The laws against Catholics lasted until about the 20th century when Ireland fought and won for its independence. A bitter spot in the treaty was that Northern Ireland, 6 counties on the island, would remain under British control and therefore remain Protestant. From October 5th, 1968 to Good Friday, April 10th, 1998, there was a war raging in Northern Ireland. This 30-year span was entitled the Troubles, and many Catholic and Protestants were killed. Because of British rule, the country was divided between religions, and the British would not allow the Catholics to practice their traditions. The Irish Republican Army, also known as the IRA, began a reign of terror against the British Catholics, and the British returned fire. A main conflict during these 30 years what has been known to be Bloody Sunday. Bloody Sunday, British soldiers shot and killed 13 Irish civilians in the street of Londonderry, sparking a huge protest against British placement in Ireland. The death toll from these 30 years alone was 3,568. The long-term effects of one man's wish to divorce is still palpable. Even in Northern Ireland today, the effects of those 30 years are present. It's a hard pill to swallow when you think about how one man and his 2 daughters could shape an entire generation of people and wipe out more than 3,500 people. Thank you.